Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. Liverpool up for sale. This is huge news. You know what? I've sort of left it 24 hours to sort of figure out what's going on, listen to a few Liverpool fans, read a few articles. It's not my club, but it's a massive, massive story for Liverpool fans and football. Liverpool up for sale. There's a real chance that the FSG group who own Liverpool are going to sell Liverpool. Who will they sell to? What does that mean for Liverpool? What does it mean to the wider football world? Why is this happening? And what would be the fallout and results of this? So, look, better brains than mine have researched this and spoken to people. It's interesting. I was listening to Talk Sport this afternoon, and they had a Liverpool fan on who's written a few books. I forget the name of the person. I feel quite ignorant about that. But they were talking about this, and they were saying it's no real surprise that is it John Henry is looking to sell the club or get investment into the club, because it's always been their plan to do that. Effectively, Liverpool is not that, they're not set in stone Liverpool fans. They bought Liverpool as a business opportunity, and they've definitely enjoyed the success and rebuilding the club to be successful. But it was never, they're not lifelong Liverpool fans that are obsessed with keeping the club. And they bought it for what, 300 million? It will go for about 3, 4, 5 billion. So there's a massive amount of profit to be had there. And they reside under this story that they would look to sell the club, but they'd want to sell it to somebody who will look after the club so their legacy is good. I'm not so sure about that. I think money talks. So you're telling me that if Liverpool get offered 4 billion by the right owners, but 6 billion from the wrong owners, are they going to refuse the extra 2 billion? That would be interesting to see. But it is. Look, I think also this Liverpool fan was saying that it's a difficult thing, because he was saying he wouldn't want to be owned by Sheikh Mansour or the Newcastle owners, state ownership. It doesn't feel right for Liverpool Football Club, especially in relation to what Jurgen Klopp has said about that sort of ownership. And it'd be very interesting to see who would come in for Liverpool and buy Liverpool, because I think for a lot of football fans, many clubs would take what Man City and Newcastle have got and sort of ignore the moral issue and just go, I want the success. And Manchester City are virtually a sustainable model now. Of course, they've spent loads and loads of money from the owners, but they are raking in a lot of money now. Their structure's very, very good. I think it's going to be really interesting. As I said, Liverpool is up for sale. There is a debate about whether they will look for investment or whether they will look for a complete sale. A lot of the alleged interest is expected to come from America. There may well be Middle East interest. It could be interest from anywhere, really, to be honest. But why is it happening? Well, I think there's a number of sort of reasons. I suppose the one I can relate to the most as a non-Liverpool fan, and I think we could all relate to this, is if the owners have said, I've taken this club as far as I can. We've won a Champions League. We've won a Premier League, which we haven't done in the Premier League history. We very nearly did a quadruple last year. We've rebuilt the stadium. But looking at football now, Manchester City are on the verge, if Liverpool didn't exist, of winning virtually. I mean, Man City aren't far off being 10 titles in a row, are they? If you take Liverpool's titles out and maybe Chelsea and Leicester's, it's ridiculous domination. Newcastle are joining the party. So if a Liverpool owner said, look, I can't take this club anymore. I can't take this club any further anymore. I just don't have the wealth to compete with what Newcastle and Man City are doing. For the betterment of this football club, I'm going to put it on the market and see if there are better owners out there that can do more than what I can do. Then that's pretty fair. I'd love the Glazers to do that. I'd love the Glazers to say, you know what, we can't afford to take this club where it needs to go. We're going to put it on the market and see if anybody is willing to do it. And then if they are, obviously we'll take the money for selling it, but we'll do it because we want the club to be successful. It's never going to happen with the Glazers. It might not be the reason that Liverpool owners are doing it, but I think ultimately, and very sadly, this is not the people's game anymore. I think the protests around the Super League showed that fans have power, but we no longer live in a world now where a local businessman who's been a lifelong Liverpool fan or United fan or Arsenal can buy them. There's only a select party of people who can buy football clubs now, and that's very, very sad. It's very, very sad, and I don't agree with a lot of things Gary Neville says, because I think he's quite, anti-American owners, when actually it's not just American owners, it's billionaire English owners, it's billionaire Middle Eastern owners, it's billionaire Chinese or Indian or South American or billionaire anywhere, basically. what we want from football is for it to be more based around the fans, but you've got to be a multi-billionaire to buy a football club. We've lost identity. We've lost the identity of our game, haven't we? It's become so. The Premier League's made us the best league in the world, but it's made it unattainable for people to have a say in their football clubs now. Because, and I suppose the scary thing for Liverpool is that if there is an investment fund from America or wherever that says we'll buy Liverpool off you for $4.5 billion, and the FSG group go, thank you very much, we'll take that, and then you get an investment group in charge of you who says, no, we're going to keep to Liverpool's principles, etc. And then that investment group ends up being like the Glazers, or doesn't really want to commit to compete with Liverpool, with Manchester City. They're looking at the next 10 years and the growth of the Premier League and TV revenues. That's the nightmare scenario, isn't it? So look, it could be very exciting that Liverpool are up for sale, and it could mean that they're going to get owners like Newcastle and Liverpool who just want to chuck money at it and make them successful. And if that happens for Liverpool, that's a very positive thing, because what do Liverpool have that Man City and Newcastle don't have? Well, they've got the bigger fan base. They've got the proper history. They are one of the biggest clubs in the world. Manchester City and Newcastle in 10, 20 years might be the equivalent of what Liverpool and Man United are now. But at the moment, they weren't bought as that. They were bought cheaper because they weren't that. If you got hold of Liverpool, if Sheikh Mansour bought Liverpool, that would be better than Manchester City, because you'd replicate the success, but you'd also have the huge club already that would just grow into an absolute beast of a football club. So that's the ideal for Liverpool for that to happen. But how they get to that stage next is very interesting, and how Jurgen Klopp would stay at a football club that was owned by, a state nation, or a massive multi-billionaire family like Newcastle or Manchester City. I don't know whether that fits in with what Liverpool are. I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not a Liverpool fan, and it's a very, very personal thing. For me, I can only comment on Manchester United. I think there are similarities between Manchester United and Liverpool. There always has been. I think Liverpool's owners have run the club a lot better than Manchester United have. The stadium, the trophies, the recruitment. United have failed in that area. But if Man United were put up, I think Man United should be put up for sale. And if Manchester United were put up for sale, I would be encouraged, but I would be concerned. And I think for us it would be easier than Liverpool, because Liverpool, as much as they may have issues with their owners, look at the last 10 years. It's been a lot more successful than the 10 years before you had them. So I think there has to be an element of excitement, but there also has to be an element of concern. It's about securing the right owners. And you might end up with like for like, somebody just takes it on and wants to run it like FSG. You might end up with owners who come in and want to be like Man City. You might end up with owners who end up being the Glazers. And that's the thing, isn't it? You roll the dice, you see what you get, but ultimately you're powerless, because it's FSG who own Liverpool and they can sell it if they want to. And that's where I'm not comfortable about football in general. I'm not comfortable that Kroenke owns Arsenal, FSG own Liverpool, the Glazers own Manchester United, Sheikh Mansour owns Man City, because ultimately we feel that these clubs are ours, and they are. The rivalry, the hope for success, the disappointment when you lose, we feel that more than those owners probably. But if they decide they're selling it, we are powerless. And that's something that we all spoke about around the Super League. These owners can basically do what they want. They can sell it. They can try and put it into a Super League, and that was stopped. Granted, it was, but we are powerless as fans, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Liverpool. Look, maybe FSG stay. Maybe somebody comes in and says we want a percentage and we'll chuck a load of money at you. Maybe they sell. I think obviously you get excited because you look at what happens with Newcastle and see the success there. And I don't begrudge Liverpool fans for 1 minute wanting to have the millions and millions, the open checkbook that Pep's had at Manchester City. I think Liverpool would love that. I think if Liverpool had the open checkbook over the last 5 years that Man City have had, well, Liverpool have won the title in the last 5 years. How many more would they have on a level playing field? And I think everybody wants a level playing field. Everybody wants more than a level playing field. You want to be number one. So that is very exciting. It's going to be a really interesting story to follow. Many people are predicting it's not going to be a quick fix. It might take a year or two to happen. What happens to Liverpool in the meantime? Does that mean you don't spend in the summer? Will they still spend knowing that the club's going to be sold? I think you have to. I don't agree with people who go, well, if it's going to take 2 years to sell Liverpool, then FSG won't spend next summer. I think they have to spend next summer, because if you're selling a club, you want it to be a going concern, and that would almost be agreed with the buyer, I suppose. So I don't think that's massively important, but it's going to be very interesting to see how the story develops. Yeah, so get your comments in below. Let me know what you think. But my overall feeling is, I think the most important thing here is it's going to be interesting to see what path Liverpool go down. What I will say is, if Man United were up for sale tomorrow and Liverpool are up for sale, then these are the two biggest clubs in English football. And the Premier League is the biggest league in the world. So therefore, the most attractive club, apart from Manchester United, is up for sale because of the Premier League. And Real Madrid and Barcelona are very attractive, but who's more attractive to buy, Liverpool or Real Madrid or Barcelona? Real Madrid and Barcelona are bigger clubs. They're winning more things. You can have that argument, but they're not in the Premier League, and the Super League doesn't exist. So Liverpool are a far more lucrative club to buy, and they're for sale. So there will be plenty of people queuing up. I think if Everton were up for sale, there would be interest, but Liverpool up for sale, there's going to be a lot of interest in that. And it's going to be very interesting, because you might end up with somebody, I'm not saying Elon Musk or whoever like that, but you might end up with somebody who just goes, yeah, I fancy a bit of that. I'm not really a Liverpool fan, but I can be, and I love football. I'll have a bit of that. And you might end up with this, who knows what. We'll have to see. I'd be very interested to see what Liverpool fans think if you're watching, but I'd also be very interested to see what everyone else's observations are. I'll give a prediction because I think it's boring not to. I think Liverpool will end up with an offer on the table from an owner that is like a Man City owner or Newcastle. I'm not saying absolutely similar, but I think they will have an offer from somebody who is super rich, who can replicate what Newcastle and Man City are doing. The interesting thing is, will Liverpool fans and the club go for that? Because the alternative is you might end up with another FSG or a Glazer. And so it's very, very, very interesting. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash the like on the video and subscribe bottom right hand corner. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.